March 21st, 2024, Town of Rome Board meeting to order. Roll call, starting on my left, please.
Capel here.
Minter here.
Jumati here.
Cole here.
And Supervisor Bauerheit, have we heard from him, or? Okay, then we'll mark him as excused or we're not sure. Okay. Number 3, certify the posting of the meeting, please.
I certify that on Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, the agenda for the Town of Rome Board meeting for Thursday, March 21st, 2024 was posted at the Rome Town Hall at 12:14 p.m., Quick Trip LLC at 12:27 p.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank, 12:20 p.m., Wisconsin Rapids email to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune at 12:12 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Approve the agenda with removal of number 15, please.
I'll move approval of the agenda, removing item 15.
A second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Capel, second by Supervisor Cole with the removal of item 15. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pledge of Allegiance. We received 2 comment cards this evening, so I'll read item number 6. Excuse me. Citizen comments. During the citizen comment period of the agenda, the town board welcomes comments from any town's resident, not a member of the town board, on any item not on the agenda. Please know that pursuant to state law, the board cannot engage in conversation with you, but may ask questions. The board may refer the item to staff, a standing committee, or a future board agenda for discussion and action. Each person wishing to speak will have up to 3 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to submit a card to the clerk treasurer providing their name, address, and topic for discussion. The board will also take comment from the public on agenda items as called by the chair, but not during citizen comment. Please note that once the board begins discussion on an agenda item, no further comment will be allowed from the public on that issue. First comment card is from Dan Lilja from the Lure Bar and Grill. If you'll come up, please, and just sign your name there at the podium and your address, and state your name and address for us for the record,
Dan Lilja,
and the item you wish to speak regarding.
1735 Archer Lane, regarding the tent codes, or
Okay.
clarifying tent codes.
Start the timer when he's ready.
I received, go now,
Go ahead.
received a letter last week regarding the codes regarding our tent that we installed at our facility at the Lure Bar and Grill, that a canopy tent is only, or a canopy is only allowed up for 20 calendar days in a 20 calendar days in a year. I'm trying to figure out between what is the difference of one is a canopy and what is the difference between a tent. Your canopy codes state no more than 20 days in a calendar year. Your tent under your guys' website has no time frame or period that I've found. Our tent is fire resistant, stamped, and we're trying to either get it extended or get permission to have our tent up. We have tens of thousands of dollars that we've put down for events this summer that's non-refundable, not knowing that the tent was going to be a issue that it is, that we have to take it down, that we spent a lot of money on getting up, and we're trying to figure out if we can get a leeway, a permit issued, somewhere where we can come to a happy agreement, because from what I'm reading and what was handed to me last week or so ago, is kind of a devastating to our business. and not my business, many businesses in this town regarding canopy or a tent, which that's what I'm trying to ask too. What is the difference between a canopy and what's the difference between a tent? Because there's a huge difference on your website regarding both. So, we're trying to get clarification here because we need to either move forward on trying to see if we can change the code, extend these 20 days to not being fined or punished for having the tent up at this time until we can get this resolved with the township here. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, we have a second comment card, Casey Benz. Want to come up? Please state your name and address and then also sign the log for us.
Casey Benz, 1497 Alpine Drive.
And the reason you want to speak?
Same thing around
Okay.
the 10 codes. I guess I was asked here to speak tonight and see, what the actual issue is, because I really don't know. I've had my tent up this is going to be the 5th season, and I guess I wasn't made aware that any of this was a problem until just recently. So, yes, I think you as a board and us as a community need to figure this out of why all of a sudden this came up, and it shouldn't be even being discussed about my opinion, I guess, because otherwise I should have known about it 4 years ago if there was a problem. I spend money every year to put my tent up, take it down, clean it, stamp it for fire, and it makes us money and it's taken care of, and so I've never had any complaints about it. So this is the first I'm hearing about it. So I guess that I just want that to be known, and we gotta figure out a way to make this work. Okay?
Okay, appreciate it, Casey. You didn't fill out a card. Do you want to quickly fill out a card?
Yeah, I want to fill one out too, please.
Yeah.
If I could.
Quickly.
The cards are right outside the door.
The pen? Need one? There you go.
Thank you.
All right, Timmy Mitchell. And then that'll be it, because we really should have had them before the meeting, but
Yeah,
we'll
I
allow
wasn't-
it. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
I got told at the last minute about this, so I just want to show
Understand.
support for everybody in the small
Understand.
business, so.
So you got the address. Okay.
So several people reached out to me, obviously in the business world, about this, and so I spent time digging into the into the Rome website, and I typed in the search bar under all of the ordinances, and the only limitations, I suppose, when you type in tents is that all circuses, carnivals, or other exhibitions shall employ one or more qualified persons, etc. It's 191-13 tents. That's the only verbiage on tents in the entire Rome website. And in the definition of canopies, there's no say or verbiage of tents at all. So I don't think this is an issue. It's just, there's nothing to do with canopies. You're talking the private residences for canopies. The commercial end of this, it's just been overlapped, and it shouldn't be, because tents for events are for business purposes and for obviously revenue for several events in this area. For it to be removed every 10 or 20 days when some of these people have events every single weekend is just a burden, and it's not fair to them. So and there's not even a definition of tent in this either. It's just the fire codes and having somebody to enforce aisles and exits and non-smoking for tents. So there's not a definition of tents, and I believe that the tents and the canopies are to be separated for residential versus commercial. So I really don't think there's an issue. I think it's just been overlapped, and that the residential part of this has kind of been blowing up where, you know, the limitations on that may be up for debate for homeowners on that. That's a different issue, but for commercial, that, yeah, there's way too much revenue and way too many events in this town to even worry about trying to enforce a tent for events. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Forgot to change a couple clocks.
All right. Phil McLaughlin? If you can give your name and address, and then we'll.
Phil McLaughlin, 224 14th Avenue. Okay, I apologize if I'm ignorant of exactly what's going on with this situation with the tents slash canopies. I guess I would start by asking what propagated that it's an issue.
Well, we can't really get into a discussion with you this evening. You're here to speak
All right,
to us.
okay, well.
So
all right.
you have 3 minutes to speak, whether you're, tell us what your concern
Right,
was.
my concerns are this. I heard somebody say that been multiple years that they've been doing this and everything. And I want to let everybody know, who some probably know, some maybe not. These, whatever you're going to call them, structures or whatever, entities, if they were in place legally up until this point, it doesn't matter if you change a rule, they're still allowed, people that already have them. So first and foremost, all you people, you need to know that. They can't take it away from you if you legally had it already. That's not how it works. Other than that, I guess, and I would strongly agree with the idea that there's a huge difference between commercial use and residential use. And I will specify too, agreeing that I think commercial use let's face it, most of the businesses in this town only survive because of the good season, the warm season. If they don't have a good summer season, they can't survive. So when to use these canopies or whatever they're labeled for their business purposes, I think they should be granted lenience to do that. And if the ordinance restricts them heavily, I don't think it should. I guess. Other than that, I just, like I said, I mostly want everybody to know that, if something is legally in place at the time and an ordinance changes, that doesn't affect you that already have it, you're still good to keep it. Thank you.
Did anybody have any of the board members have any questions for anybody that spoke this evening? We can ask questions.
I guess I would ask our town attorney if what Mr. McLaughlin just said is correct.
Well, he's referencing a legal non-conforming structure.
Is that what a canopy falls under, or a tent?
It's larger than that, right? He's referencing a legal non-conforming
non-conforming.
structure. It is a zoning term, and it would apply to structures that exist legally.
Which means that they're permanent, not ones that go up and down?
No,
Or
there's,
does there a difference?
Again, there's some provisions for how you can lose that legal non-conforming structure status.
Okay.
If you abandon, it for a period of time, for example. But
I'm talking to the town attorney.
Yeah, I know, but he's not answering the question, and I don't like.
Please, sir, please, Phil.
I'm telling you that if you're asking a zoning term, and legal non-conforming structure applies to zoning, yes.
Okay.
The reason this came up is that there was a concern raised about a tent, canopy. Code changed in February of 2023. Given the concerns that were raised this evening and the impact it is having on our local businesses, I'm going to refer this to the Plan Commission for review. Possible updates may be necessary. April 9th is the next Plan Commission meeting. Thank Thank you. No action contemplated except possible referral to a future agenda. Informational updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Starting on my left.
I just had one issue that came my way this week when I went to the park meeting. And congratulations to the park commission because they've got the grant to do the wildflowers. When Dave Trudeau came in and started talking about the project, he said that he ordered 180 rolls and each roll weighs 160 pounds and they're 40 inches long. And so I asked, are we going to have a skid steer loader available to help out? And I was told that the skid steer loader would be there to unload the pallets and that would be it. And I asked about how we're going to get the work done. It was said to me that they were going to be done with volunteers, and I had a concern that volunteers moving 160-pound, 40-inch rolls is an accident waiting to happen. So I've asked our town administrator to have the Public Works Department take more of an active role when that material arrives so that we make sure nobody gets hurt. That's all.
Dan, anything?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay. Jackie?
I should remind everybody, I forgot this at the last meeting, that if you have questions about the town, you should go to the town's website, which is romewi.com. If you're interested in anything tourism related, events, where to stay, play, calendar events, go to visit romewi.com. And then I do have an update in that, at the last meeting, I was asked to reach out to an attorney, Paul Kent in Madison, about adopting a potential wake boat ordinance. And so just where I'm at with that, Attorney Kent has retired. He's referred me to another attorney in his office, Attorney Manthe, who has received documentation about where we're at currently with the issue. And so this will likely be on the next board agenda to potentially retain the attorney to look into this ordinance. It should be noted that any ordinance suggested does need DNR approval, I learned from Attorney Manthe, and that they need to receive it 60 days prior to it being enacted. So regardless of when this happens, it would be, if an ordinance is written and approved, it would not take place for at least 60 days, likely much longer. So that's the
Thank you.
update on that.
So if we would have that on the April agenda, something by the end of the month, it would be probably midsummer. Okay. Bob, do you have anything?
I have nothing at this time.
Right. And I'll follow up with that. We do have a zoning code audit taking place. We'll start with that at Plan Commission. That's being done by Civitech Consulting, who did our zoning hub, which is on our website, which is being actively used at this point. I think people are finding it very easy to use, as is our zoning department. And that's going to help us with some of that ambiguity going forward and helping cleaning up and finding some of the things that we have going on there. I'm also finishing up some of the updates to the comprehensive outdoor rec plan. It's my fault that is a little bit delayed in that I lost some of the updates that I had started making in January, and I had to recreate some of those. I've been in touch with Jeff, and we'll get that wrapped up real soon, so that's coming forth as well. So moving on to item number 8, department and committee reports. Any questions or comments from board supervisors?
No, I just continue to compliment the library with all the fun things that they're doing. It's really a lot of activity there, and it seems they're making full use of our library.
Anyone else? Okay. Discussion and possible action on the following items. Number 9, discussion and possible action, approval of the March 7th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Move to approve the March 7th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Supervisor Minters, second by Supervisor Bauerheit for the approval of the March 7th, 2024 meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, discussion and possible action. Checks, vouchers, receipts, and journal entries. Approved checks number 46147 through 46269 totaling $7,299,734.01. Auto payments totaling $71,344.97. State, Social Security, and Medicare withholdings totaling $31,167.32. Payroll vouchers V 21697 through V 21780 totaling $82,044.92. Receipts 25353 through 25430, 25436 totaling $147,129.06.
Move to approve checks, vouchers, and receipts and journal entries as presented.
I'll second, then I have a question.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Bauerheit, second by Supervisor Capel with a question for approving the checks, vouchers, receipts, and journal entries as presented. Supervisor Capel?
On the check register, page 11 and then page 20 again, we have sums of money for zoning contracted services and building inspection contracted services. Have we received the final reports in all cases for the amounts that we're paying out?
The building inspection is paid up front,
Okay,
so we have not.
and what about for zoning contracted, there were no issues, I'm assuming?
Is there still stuff outstanding, Nick? I think we have items that are still pending that have been worked on, so they're not.
But the work
included.
that's been done is, we have reports on all the work that's been done.
I believe he sent an update on all the work that's been done.
Okay.
An update, I don't know the ones that are pending reports, I'd have to look at the status of those reports.
I'm just curious if everything is finalized prior to us actually paying for the work that's been done. Can anybody answer that?
When it comes to building, no, if somebody comes and gets a building permit, the building inspector submits a bill and is paid up front. So if you're building a house and it takes you a year to build it, he's been paid the full fee amount up front, and then the inspections occur later. As far as the zoning administration, when we were contracted, that work was hourly rate, and Attorney Flanagan answered the rest of
Okay.
that question.
All right.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11, discussion and possible action. Zoning and Building Administration Services Review for Proposals, Building and Zoning Services. Tonight we have Verbecker and MSA joining us to discuss their proposals. Did you want to tee anything up, Jason or Nick?
The proposals are in the packet. I don't know however the board wishes to proceed. They're both, to fill that contracted, zoning role that Dan was filling, and
Want to start with zoning first with Verbecker to present on their zoning portion on zoning? Okay, Mark and, I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your first name.
Andy.
Andy, so, okay,
Good evening.
good evening.
All right, it's late afternoon, I guess. But my name is Mark Stewart. I am with Veerbecker. And I actually, a little bit of my background is that I've been in zoning administration, code enforcement, and ordinance development for over 20 years. Did a little bit in Minnesota, but pretty much the brunt of my time has been in Wisconsin. I've been zoning administrator in 2 different counties, as well as a couple of cities and a town as well. Currently working with the city of Richland Center on doing their zoning administrative activities. So we are here today after discussion with you, Madam Chair, and the town administrator, and we're looking at a couple of different options for you. Is to be up here several days a week to kind of help the staff along, to gauge the activities and help train the staff and get them going in the right direction, and picking up where the building inspector left off and really giving that zoning mix to it, and just kind of diving into those activities and seeing where we can go with it, seeing if the forms are good. And I was looking at them before the meeting here, and I do like the forms that you do have in place right now. But really getting that, getting your staff up to speed on doing the zoning aspect of permitting, and even into some of the enforcement activities. Another option to our proposal is being here just 1 day a week, but a full day, and spending all day here, having official office hours, that the way the general public would know when the zoning administrator would be here. They can set appointments. If we have to do site inspections, we can also set appointments that way. But it's really that service to be provided to the community as a whole, that they know that someone is dedicated there on a specific day of the week. Generally would correspond with either, at the preference of the town board, would be to either be here for plan commission evenings or to be here for town board, or both, however it seems fit that way. But really it's about having a presence in the community on a set schedule, so people can get a sense of when people would be here to ask those questions. But we'd always be available by phone call, by email, and have access that way. And I do like the website as well, how it's set up to get that information, and that'd be another role, is to just kind of evaluate that and see what may be missing we need to add into that, so that we are answering the questions that were brought up earlier today. Either people can find it online easy, or they can call us and ask those questions, and we can get back to them, in an immediate sense. So, but really the way we propose it is that interactive aspect and having that open door. Because I think the big thing is, especially with the gentleman that spoke tonight, is that they need to talk to somebody. They need to have that face-to-face interaction to kind of get an answer to their questions. And I think that's what we would do, is be here, office hours, interact, and just, but to train the staff as well, so that, it's not deer in the headlights when people come in asking some of the tough questions. So. Anything else?
Did you have anything, Jason or Nick, that you wanted to add, or questions from the supervisors?
So, just a question. So, at the beginning, you have phase 1, phase 2. So at the beginning, you're thinking coming 3 half days a week, and then some hours outside of the time that you're physically here. And then you said that would last potentially a month of 30 days, and then you'd go to phase 2. Is that, so in times where you've had opportunities to do this in other places, is that sort of a normal pattern? Would you anticipate that the staff that are here after 30 days may be able to answer at least some of those preliminary questions if people were to walk in on the day that you're not here? Or is it, because the cost, your proposal for the cost is the same, it's $2,040 a week, no matter if it's 3 4-hour days or 1 8-hour day plus an extra 4 hours.
So it's really the presence. So to be here multiple days in a week is a benefit to the staff to train them, and it's also a benefit to the public, that there's more opportunities. If we set it as, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, well, people who may come in from out of town and up here just on the weekends, well, they show up on Friday. Well, we're not here on Friday, So that could cause some issues. So having the flexibility of being here multiple days serves two purposes. One, it's to train the staff, and two is to be available to the general public. And then going beyond that is exactly what you said. If the staff is up to answering the questions on a daily basis, then we'd turn it over to a 1 day a week, and we'd have to decide what's that best 1 day to be here. Is it for the meetings? Is it for the public? You know, what turns out to be the best day to be here to follow up on those interactions?
So that phase one could last longer than the 30 days.
Yes,
Depending on situation.
that is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Is this intended to be, a training opportunity for Taylor would be, and then also an interim, sort of fix, because we don't have a zoning administrator currently, so you would be doing this until and if we were to hire a full-time zoning administrator? Is that how this is written, or are you presenting this as if you would do this ongoing? As if we're not hiring a new zoning administrator? Is that, did I
Jason, you
Yeah, I don't,
phrase that correctly?
Jason, you could
It's
answer
a
that.
per week service as long as we would need it, and so you guys got some preliminary reports from our consultant earlier today in his recommendations, but, so I would say that it's as needed.
Okay, so, and do you understand that that's possibly what's happening here, that this is being done on an as-needed until we were to hire a full-time zoning administrator? Because I would anticipate, I didn't do the math, but the cost of your service versus a full-time zoning administrator, there may be a significant difference.
yeah, that is our understanding.
That's
It
your
was,
understanding.
yeah,
Okay,
that was
so
our
I just want
understanding.
people listening to know that's what's happening here.
Yep.
We're looking to get someone to answer your questions now, like as soon as someone can be decided on to do this, because we have a gap right now in zoning and answering questions.
And this is the season. I mean, this is, as soon as it got warm, is Taylor here? As soon as it got warm, the phone would blow up, right? As soon as it gets warm, everyone starts calling. And this year, it started early. You know, so, you know, time is of the essence, you know, to get out there, and that's overwhelming, you know, especially if you're new to the game. That's overwhelming to get all those calls in a short period of time, and but that's pretty common right now. So we want to get off and running as soon as possible, and get helping the public and helping Taylor out.
And then would you maybe view us as kind of an unusual community for a population our size of 3,000 people? Because we are sort of on the map, as they say. There's a lot happening here, a lot of people coming here, a lot of questions, a lot of development versus maybe our surrounding towns. And that's why we may need this service, where some of the other surrounding towns could maybe get by without something this comprehensive. Would that be
I
fair
would
to
I would
assume
say
that?
I would say you're unique, not unusual. But
Yeah.
but that is, it's actually the true ebb and flow of the state of Wisconsin and how zoning is applied, because you have county zoning that can, you know, be over the top of everything, and in a lot of counties, the county handles the town zoning, and so each county operates different. So I live in Sauk County. There's 3 towns that don't have county zoning. They do it themselves, or they don't have any. Other counties, there's no zoning besides shoreland and floodplain and sanitary. So it kind of ebbs and flows based on the amount of development, the amount of activity going on, and really the ideas of the boards. If the town board really wants zoning, they're gonna push it, maybe they hold it themselves. Others will just defer to the county and let them deal with it, so. But it's appropriate in a situation like this that, with the amount of development you have, with the amount of lakes you have, and your proximity, that it makes sense to have it as local control, that the community has the zoning control, as opposed to somebody who, you know, is in Adams as opposed to being in Rome. So it makes sense for you to have your own zoning.
Do you have any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you. If you want to stay as we go through the second one and just see how it goes. And, all right, thank you very much, Mark. So then we have a presentation from MSA. Evening, Rain.
Hi, everybody. It's good
Hi.
to see you in person.
Hello.
I actually have Greg Barucki with me as well. And so a little bit about our services and background. So we put a proposal obviously in front of you for not only the zoning but the building inspection. So we've been doing that for quite a while for several communities, and a lot of them go hand in hand. My background actually is in the public works realm, and I've been working for the Village of Lake Dalton for a very long time, handling their zoning and their public works side of things, and they also utilize our building inspection services. So a lot of times those three things come together quite a bit, especially when it comes to zoning and building inspection. And so kind of our proposals kind of go hand in hand, and I'm trying not to overlap them a ton to keep them separated, but at the same time they do work together. You are unique as a community. With my experience in Lake Dalton, there is fluctuations because of the development. When you have a tourist or resort type of community, you see fluctuations in development. And so I can explain currently, even in Lake Dalton, we're seeing a huge influx right now, and where I spend more time up there right now working with them on development reviews and conditional use permits and things like that as they overlap the development coming in. With a service provided by a consultant, we can fluctuate our time, so when you aren't as busy and you aren't seeing as many permits, we can lessen our hours needed for you so that you see that savings. But in times like this, when you're seeing, the need for more hours here or answering questions or things coming in, we can provide that influx and have the people available for those services. So a little bit of the difference in our proposal. So the zoning proposal here, when we talked to Jason and Nick, we did anticipate helping to work with Taylor on getting her more up to speed on the zoning codes and questions so that she can answer a lot more of the upfront questions and kind of get through some of that, the general phone calls coming in, and kind of can direct, is it an easy question to answer, or no, we need to actually turn it over to our consultant to help answer a more in-depth situation or question. So that is our plan, that upfront we'd have some more time getting her up to speed with that and kind of working out our flow as to how to work closely with the town, because we do see that savings in working with your own staff up front and then trying to navigate, some of the larger, bigger problems or developments and permits need to kind of come through us then at a certain point. As for office hours, we would need to work that out overall as to what that looks like for the zoning administrator. So the person we would put in place here, he isn't here tonight, vacations and spring break, that's all happening. So just trying to balance that. So that's why you have me in front of you explaining this. But when working with Greg and working through office hours, the building inspection hours, that we'd have a building inspector here too, kind of goes hand in hand. And so the two people would work pretty closely together and have an idea as to what questions need to go zoning or building, and both have knowledge in those areas as to, maybe be able to answer some of the lower level questions and then getting the higher level questions to the right person in that capacity. If you have anything else you want to add to that office hours piece?
I think, when we talked last time, office hours, we also looked at, maybe having Stephanie is our lead building inspector, Stephanie Potter, and when she's up here doing building inspection and has her set hours, she could also be acting as that person navigating through some of the zoning questions too, and then have, it's really a flexible type of proposal. As I said, you're paying as you go, it's not an automatic pay. So we had we had office hours set based on my discussion with Jason, but that could be flexible. It could be 4 hours starting out, it could be 2 hours, it could be different days. So I guess, both have flexibility, both have experience in zoning, and we don't want two people up here at the same time either.
And that's just something I think over time it kind of develops as to what the best time is to have somebody here answering questions, knowing when you are having an influx of people who don't live here full time and they're only here certain times based on weekends maybe, we can figure out what those best times to hold office hours are, closer to probably the weekends, but it just depends on what really makes sense for your residents and people coming into the community. So we kind of have a bulletized list of both our services under each of the contracts. Again, that would be something that we'll continue to probably develop, as we work through things. We built ours as a time and materials contract, so you're only paying for our services when we're here and as needed. And it'll continue to probably develop as we figure out what's the right rhythm and what, we work with Taylor on for answering questions and getting through some of the general zoning pieces. One of the other things I want to note, I think that's been really successful and helpful, is providing you a monthly report as to what's been going on overall in the community. So not only on the zoning side, but on the building inspection side, we submit reports to the communities we work for, kind of letting them know what permits are going on, what's been taken out, what's been closed off, what's still outstanding. So it kind of gives you a snapshot each month that you kind of know what we're working on, and it's not just this kind of dark hole of abyss. You know what's actually going on and how the two are talking to each other as well between the two reports. So I don't know, yeah, sorry.
I do have a question on the monthly report. This town has monthly reports for the board, and then there are zoning department reports for the plan commission. Those are gonna be those specific things, right, that you may be working on. What is the interplay there from a reporting perspective? They're typically more detailed in reporting for specific situations in the plan commission. Do you then prepare those and provide those to the plan commission as background information?
Correct, yes, definitely. So yeah, if there's a more in-depth situation on a conditional use or development, you'd have a longer report as to the review and the analysis and our recommendations. And then the other report I'm talking about is the more snapshot, like what's been going on, what permits have been pulled, kind of more of a spreadsheet style, kind of listing and the timing of it and when it's set to be approved or what meetings it might need to go through for our approval process.
Very good, thank you.
A question that might apply to both proposals. I just didn't think of it until now. There's a lot of conversation about training for Taylor. And I don't know if that would be like talking to her verbal, or will this training be documented so that she would have something to work with to answer what might be, I don't know what a standard question is, but a common question that she could refer to, or would she be expected to try to develop that sort of material and training manual, or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can be documented if needed, and I think that's probably one of the best things to do. We'd need to probably really sit down and have a meeting in general to have an understanding as to like, what does that look like? What information does she need readily available? Is it easily found in your ordinances and documentation and permit forms, or no, something needs to be developed a little bit further so it's at her fingertips? Those are things that we just need to explore and work through actually in that kind of beginning process to build that out.
She's just one person, and she's new to doing this. And there's also possibilities, people do move in their jobs or their situations, that we wouldn't want to have everything be done and be in someone's head and nothing is on paper documented for maybe someone else to use.
That also. So part of our overall process and that education process would be to develop a guide that would be used as reference.
Okay.
Combination of frequently asked questions, best practices, the types of things that come into the office. So as part of the engagement, as we're learning the types of things that go on in the town, the types of questions that come up, some of the challenges that have been presented to Taylor that have caused issues, we would certainly document all those, create that training manual essentially that would be utilized by Taylor and other individuals, potentially if she's on vacation. Sure. There's a question, and then obviously we're available for reference also. So if something were to come up that Taylor wasn't available, those could be directed to Mark or myself or other members of our staff as needed.
So is that service referenced in your proposals, or is that just kind of assumed? I don't like to assume anything.
So based on our discussions, we assumed we were sitting down and working through that kind of out of the gate, if we were hired to provide these services and work through it. That's what we discussed when we spoke to Jason and Nick as well.
Same for us also.
Okay.
So with the building inspection zoning, it seems like it's pretty much overlapping here. It's almost like a one-stop shop service from beginning to end. So it's like, is the technology then, it seems like it's all online and there's record keeping and everything, and it would be the same for you as well, but yours is including the building, so all the forms are online and it's record keeping from beginning to end for the building then, so we'd be completely removed from that piece of it. That's MSA, building inspector taking care of that.
Correct.
I have a question. You're asking us to consider a professional services agreement, and your fee schedule for the inspectors and the zoning administrators is $105 to $130 an hour. So is that dependent upon the skill of the person who's administering that, or what would cause that rate to vary?
It is, just where they are, but I think, I don't know if you indicated on your sheet, we had the building inspector at $120 rate. And then we do have a plumbing inspector as well at a different rate. So the rates are on your building inspection, sheet, and then we did talk to Jason about our zoning services, and the person that we would put in front of you for zoning, would be 120, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
the
that's
same.
why I see 120 for commercial and UDC, HVAC, electrical, 120, and then commercial and plumbing is 110. So you do
have separate
commercial,
rates for the
yeah, for commercial as well.
And then with either service, how soon would this take place? If we were to put our name on this today, how soon would you start working?
We can start on Monday.
Both are available right away? Okay.
I know, right now we're in board discussion. Give us just a little bit, yeah, please. Is there any other board questions or considerations for MSA at this point, or Rebecca?
Has anyone from planning and zoning looked at any of this, or is this strictly on the board to review?
From,
Planning and zoning committee?
this is strictly on the board.
Okay,
yeah,
strictly on the board to
strictly on the
review?
board.
Okay.
I'm just looking at my list of questions that I had. See, I think we've covered everything that I had thought of. I don't know, I think. Any other questions? Do we wanna have questions from the audience, or do we wanna keep it by ourselves tonight?
So just so I'm clear, so the Verbecker proposal would not include any inspection services? Okay. That's accurate?
Not building
Okay.
inspection, it would be zoning compliance.
Zoning,
things of
okay.
that nature, correct.
Thank you.
I think what I like is that this includes the building inspection, and that we would pay after all the services are completed. It's all their own record keeping, which keeps, Taylor on track with learning. And then they also train Taylor in all the record keeping, so for a lower fee as well. Plus helping creating some SOGs on an as-needed basis. Advising the plan commission, there's quite a bit here included.
Madam Chair, I see an advantage in seriously looking at the MSA proposals, since they're not interchangeable as far as things go, but there is a offshoot of when you're doing building inspection, you learn a little bit of zoning, and when you're doing zoning, you learn a little bit of building inspection. And so even though the main person may not be here, the person that is here would have some knowledge about what people may come in and ask if we don't have the answers here. So I see an advantage to using MSA for both services and providing office hours over the Burbisher. It's just my opinion. I see an advantage to the town.
I see it, it's only an estimate of 25,000 for the zoning and 50,000 for the inspection, so I would suspect that you could easily go above those figures using the rates as they're quoting.
And I'll quickly add, I mean, that fluctuates based on the permits that come in and the development and the reviews that are required. Obviously, upfront, we would have more fee, but then as we work through working with Taylor and trying to figure out where your next steps lie for zoning administration, then that kind of tapers off, hopefully, that would be the intent. The building inspection piece, and I'll let Greg talk about that, yeah.
And then we would realign those fees right away as soon as we have an opportunity to do that. We could realign our building fees, and that would cover things.
I'm seeing this as a stopgap,
Yes,
an immediate
exactly.
stopgap that gets us
Absolutely.
That's what I'm
moving in the
looking
right
at.
direction.
So the 50,000, that was an estimated
Right.
fee based on 2024 and 2025 with a similar community size. And then we went to the interim basis, and like I said, it's just hourly. So, you know, the good thing is you're not paying for your fees up front and then doing the work. You're getting your fees in your pocket, and then we do the work, and those fees are reimbursed back to us partially. The fee basis that we had, that I talked to Jason about, is a little different. It's more graduated to the type of building that's going on, so that the 1,000 square foot or a 1,000 square foot house isn't the same as the 5,000 square foot house. There's obviously a lot more to that, so that's the difference in the fee structure, but we've been monitoring that to make sure that townships aren't in the red.
And like I said, we would realign our fees by our next town board meeting, once we would start.
Right. We could have the fees cover the cost.
Absolutely. Supervisor Minter?
I'm in favor of it. Let them speak, they're here.
Yes, Phil, you want to come up to the mic, please?
Sure.
I just have one question because I didn't hear anything mentioned, and I don't wanna make an assumption either. This is a question regarding both firms. Do they have their own liability insurance if they, let's just say, something happens, something goes wrong? That's my question.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you both have your own liability insurance?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I mean, I understand the potential advantages of having one firm do both sides of it, but I also was very impressed by the list of things specifically stated very clearly, I thought, clearly in the Verbecker proposal, in terms of the specific things related to having a zoning oversight, a zoning administrator. I was very impressed by that. MSA had similar things in there, but it wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't as detailed perhaps. Neither are really detailed, but I don't know, I thought the one was more descriptive than the other one was, you know, and then, you know, I didn't really, I saw mention in the building inspecting side of it of having somebody here on site for multiple hours in a week. Didn't really see anything mentioned on the zoning side of having a person on site. Maybe it's implied in,
Did you look at the second, maybe you could address that for us then again, Rain, on the, for the zoning and how that's covered for the MSA then, please?
second page.
So our intent, again, was, because we're already holding office hours with our building inspector on a regular basis, that Stephanie would be able to take in any of the zoning questions, at that particular level. Obviously, again, we're working with Taylor, trying to vet most of the zoning through her, but then if anything was more in-depth, Stephanie would be able to bring that back to our zoning administrator and work through some of that. As obviously we work through, potentially then doing building inspection services, if she's not needed here as many days as we start with, maybe that other day then ends up being our zoning administrator being here instead. You know, we gotta work out what that right rhythm makes sense for you all as we work through it.
So as I'm understanding it, the primary proposal is for zoning administration services and training Taylor. but there's also a building inspection person available to us, and you'll figure out that rhythm as we need it.
Correct.
So who's ever here is still working with Taylor on
Yes.
zoning.
Yes.
And that's how the permitting fees will be figured out. We'll get our we'll get the fees in line as we
Yes.
work through this. So you're available to us in both capacities.
Correct.
And whatever
Absolutely.
person is needed is here on site working with Taylor.
And the other thing is you guys have your zoning hub up and running, and we
That is
work with other
correct.
communities that use that program as well. And,
Oh, you
and
do?
it works out really well too. So I think there's a lot of advantages. We just got to figure out what works best for you all as we move into it.
Okay.
So I would wonder if an individual comes in with a zoning question and with the Verbecker proposal, they would know they're here. I don't know if they need an appointment, but they would come in and speak to the person and probably get an answer then, unless it was something so complex they had to research and get back to them on. And with your proposal, that may not happen because they may come in and speak to, is it Stephanie? I'm sorry.
Stephanie, yeah.
Stephanie, if she's a person here, and she is not as educated in zoning as possibly a question that might come up. So then she would have to reach out to you, get the answer, and it would come back, and the person would possibly be delayed. So how long would such a delay maybe be
It could
if
be
that
the same
happened?
day that we could get the answer.
Same
I mean,
day,
that's where
she'd
we would
maybe
need to work
even
through
have
that.
to pick up
Again,
the phone or email or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you can see where I'm getting at.
Oh, I understand. I
yeah.
totally understand. I think again, though, it's going to take us some time to figure that out. And I think once, we work more with Taylor, she would be able to maybe answer some of those questions and have that first before coming to Stephanie to ask for those questions. If they're more in-depth zoning questions, that's when they are going to take a little bit more time to work through those situations.
You had your hand up.
Well, and
just
and
in
I'll call,
response to
and
the
I'll call on him
Oh,
too.
okay,
But
sorry,
I just,
yeah.
I'll call on him.
Okay, I didn't know
But
if
there
you
was,
noticed.
I wanted to just listen to the end of her
Yep.
answer. And
Thank you.
I do think though that there is some things that
Answer more
Taylor has already learned too. So there's some basic zoning she's already learned since she's been here.
And I might let Stephanie quick add, so I don't want to speak for her because she's going to be the person you're going to be working with otherwise.
And then we can call on Mark. Yes, go ahead, please.
So I just wanted to add that I do work in this capacity in another community. When I sit there for the office hours for the building inspection, and where I do the zoning, and we're always able to, and like Rain said, unless it's a very, complicated question, we are able to get that answer the same day, and refer back. And as I said, I've learned more too, and can help with Taylor.
Okay, and then Mark, did you want to come up, please? And you had your hand up, and then I did want to add too, Taylor has been with us for a while now, and she has, if maybe somebody wants to speak to the level of where she's at now between Jason and Nick, because they've been working with her. But Mark, please go ahead.
Sure. So I just want to just stress the fact that I would be the one that would be primarily here. I would say 95% of the time I'd be the one on site, barring those times I'm on vacation or whatnot. We do have other staff, but my background is zoning. I've been in zoning for over 20 years. I've been a zoning administrator, and that's been my focus. So I've been trained in it. I've enforced it. I've administered it. I've drafted it. This is kind of what I've done for, a better part of my life, and this has been my focus. So there's not building inspection on my side of it. It's zoning. It's zoning enforcement. I've been issuing permits for over 20 years. I've been in court for over 20 years too, and because inevitably there's something that's going to go to court, right? It could be municipal court, it could be circuit court, or it could be Supreme Court. And so my background is 100% zoning, and I'm also a certified planner, so that falls into my background as well. So planning and zoning has been the focus, and that's one of the focal points that I have with Veerbecker is handling the zoning matters. So kind of the buck stops with me. So if there's a question, it's going right through me, or if I have to reach out to the attorney, I will. But that's I just wanted to reiterate that my level of experience in me being here in office hours is zoning related.
And what were your office hours again, please?
It would be either 3 days to start off with in a week, per week, and would morph into 1 day a week. But we would work with the community for your needs. And so that's where we focused on, You know, is Monday the day to have office hours? Is Friday the day to have office hours? And when we do the 3 days to get us off and running, is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? You know, we would work with you and figure out what's the best fit for that. But it would be those office hours to interact with Taylor, to interact with the public.
All right, thank you.
Actually, I have a question that would be relevant to, actually, probably both. I just, one of the things that I think is, from time to time comes up in the community is, your firm, your Bicker, will submit planning and zoning related items, right? Plats, CSMs, to the town for review, and the office will do those, right? And we have some systems right now in place to do that. Do you have, so how does that work when you're also serving as zoning administrator? How does that separation happen in those kind of situations? Or, because Beer Bicker isn't reviewing Beer Bicker's submissions, right? There needs to be some kind of assurance that all of that is going through and receiving a report, going to the plan commission, the town board, you know, with some kind of checks and balances, right?
Right. That's a great question. So I'd say it's twofold. One, I'm not a surveyor, so I don't draft any surveys, but I could potentially review that survey. Development plan, same thing, is that if I don't draft the development plan, you know, I could review it as well. But that's part of the principle of doing the training, because if we're trained Taylor to a certain level, then I don't have to do those reviews of a Veerbecker certified survey map or a plat or a development plan. She would have that ability to do that. You know, and the same holds true with MSA. They have surveying services as well. That comes at play too. And but that's how we'd separate it. Plus, me being AICP certified, there's ethics that have to be at play, and so that's a great concern. And we'd try to remove ourselves from that situation. And the goal there is that Taylor would be up to speed to where she can review some of those activities.
In addition to that, the vast majority of those plans that are being submitted for review are done out of our Madison office. They're completely segmented on the private side of our engineering firm. And what we're doing is the public side of our engineering firm. There's very little overlap between the private and public side for these types of plans, and specifically related to separation between our Reedsburg and Madison office. Mark and I are in our Reedsburg office. Those plans are being predominantly submitted out of our Madison office, and we don't talk to the Madison office about what's going on up here. So we try to separate those as much as possible so that there isn't any conflict. But to Mark's point, we would be training your staff and working closely with you to identify those potential items, assure that everybody's comfortable with how we proceed with them, and then proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
I have a question about the MSA contract for inspection services. Is that meant to supplement what Dan Hansen does or to replace what he does?
Well, read it. I mean, it replaces what he does.
Would be replacing.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't see the need for it then if that's the case.
I would move that we hire MSA to provide the services as they've proposed for both building and zoning services.
I'll second your motion.
We have a motion by Chairwoman Jamadi, second by Supervisor Capel, to hire MSA to provide the services for building and zoning services. Discussion?
I just wish we could split it and have both of them do their each you know, one do the building and one do the zoning, but that's not your motion, so.
I would point out again too, that it's only an estimate of, 25,000 for the zoning and 50,000 for the inspection services. I think, depending on how much we use, it could easily go over those figures.
Would you consider, well, discussion? Supervisor Minter?
Okay. What do you mean by discussion?
You're talking, when you said that, you made a comment that you're saying
Well-
use one for one and one for the other?
That would, I could see, I could see the wisdom of doing both. I like what the gentleman from Beerbecker was saying about, you know, and I know the MSA expert in the zoning is not able to be here tonight, so that's perhaps not fair to judge, because that person can't be here to speak for himself. But I like what MSA has on their building inspecting side of it, and I like what Beerbecker has on the zoning side of it. So, that's just my, for whatever it's worth, that's my thought.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just see that I think we would get more if we had the same firm doing both, working together. That's kind of what I heard when I heard the presentations, and I'm not discounting the expertise of
I understand
Beerbecker
what
at
you're
all.
saying, but I understand what you're saying, and I respect that, but my motion will stand.
That's fine.
And,
No,
and your
that's fine.
second stand, Supervisor Capel?
It does.
Okay. I'm gonna go with I'll take a roll call vote, starting on my left.
Capel, aye.
Minter, no.
Jumati, yes.
Cole, yes.
Barrheit, no.
Motion carries. Thank you both for your presentations this evening, and we'll look forward to doing business with both your companies moving forward. Thank you. Okay. Item number 12. Approval of the Plan Commission recommendation of a revised site plan of operation for Heartland Custom Homes, Inc. to adjust building orientation. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Approval of Plan Commission recommendation of a revised site plan of operation for Heartland Custom Homes, Inc. to adjust building orientation and occupied tenant at the property address of 1144 County Highway D, also described as Lot 1, CSM 6905, located in the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter, Section 8, Town 20 North, Range 06E, Town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 03006370020.
Madam Chair, if I could give some background.
Yes, please.
Thank you. So an application was filed by Heartland Custom Homes to amend their site plan of operation. As noted in the agenda item, the main changes here were a change in the building orientation. There's also, we've received now their first tenant. They will be the first tenant in that space. The Plan Commission did consider the application at its March 12th meeting, where a public hearing was held, after which the Plan Commission made a recommendation to approve the revised site plan of operation. There is a findings of fact in your packets. I will just make mention of the conditions that were put in place. Just recall that there was a previous site plan of operation. Some of those conditions were folded into the revision, so they won't get lost with the revised site plan of operation. The conditions included that any proposed tenant must come back for Plan Commission approval. Such approval should include the building interior plans and plan of operation. Second, that refuse containers shall be provided for any additional tenant. Third, that exterior lighting, landscaping, and parking plans shall come back to the town board. forth that a signage plan would come to the plan commission for approval as part of the sign permit.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move approval.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Capel, second by Supervisor Bauerheit for the approval of the Plan Commission recommendation of a revised site plan of operation for Heartland Custom Homes to adjust the building orientation and occupy tenant at the property address of 1144 County Highway D. Should we include the findings of fact then? Is that in their motions?
Yes, including the findings of fact.
And your second?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion?
I have a question. It says exterior lighting plan shall come before the town board and landscaping plans?
Yes,
So that's not done yet? We don't have that yet?
correct, and so as part of the site plan of operation in the design section of that code for B1, there are requirements for site plan in that site plan of operation to also have lighting, landscaping, and parking, particularly in the Gateway overlay district. They did not have that all the way fleshed out at the plan commission meeting, so as a condition, so it didn't get lost, the requirement was to have those come back to the town board when they were prepared.
Shouldn't that go back before the plan commission first, before it comes to the town board?
So I believe that in the recommendation, it was made that way in the event that they would have it for tonight's meeting.
Oh.
It might be caught. That, I think, was why it was.
That was
put
the
forward.
intent. I
That
believe
was
you're
the
right.
intent of the plan commission, that's why we referred it to the town board to sit for the sake of time, and the building process is already underway. They had some of it done already, but not all of it, so for the sake of time, and we
Correct.
agreed to that condition and findings of fact.
I just don't know how the town board can agree to it when we don't have the exterior light plan or the landscaping plan. I think that should all be done at the planning commission level before it comes to the town board. It shouldn't have been recommended to us if it wasn't
We
completed.
expected to have it tonight,
But we don't.
correct.
So I don't know why we would approve it if we don't
So
have
this-
it tonight.
This is getting the adjustment to the orientation, specifically the adjustment to the orientation and the tenant. What you can do, since it was a recommendation, they may have these things, and if so, that's great. Otherwise, that was the reason it was recommended for town board. In the event that they don't have one of these things, you can adjust the findings of fact and just have the plan commission review that and make the recommendation, at which point they would provide that to us. But
Which
it-
is why I
it would
brought up
still
the
be a
findings
condition.
of fact.
Right.
Correct.
Do you have any plans with you this evening?
Yep, yes.
Then you can approach and show them to us, please, if you would.
So these plans have not been seen by planning commission? I mean, I'm assuming these are new. So
is
you're,
correct.
so you're asking the
This is the
board
one-
to review plans that are typically reviewed and approved by planning commission?
Right, and the plan commission agreed to allow the town board to do that.
Okay, I'm just making it
Correct.
clear. It
No, no.
doesn't mean we have to want to do it.
No, you don't have to want to,
Right.
no. But the
or
most
are
important thing
equipped
before,
to do it or knowledgeable to do it.
no, but the most important thing before us this evening is the fact that they repositioned these buildings.
Yeah, those are little lights.
That's the most important thing this evening. As Nick explained, the most important thing before us this evening, if you wanna deny the lighting plan and the landscaping plan and send that back, you have every right to do that.
And it wouldn't
And
really be denying it, it would be just referring that piece
Referring it
back.
back.
And you'd be adjusting the condition most likely to have that flow through plan commission.
Okay, so
And have that recommendation, you know,
it
then
would allow them to continue their construction, but it would also allow the board to ask that these things be reviewed by planning commission rather than us.
that would certainly be an option.
But that's not the motion that's on the floor.
I didn't make the motion. It was your motion,
My motion.
and
And you seconded it?
No?
No?
Bob
Oh,
did.
Bob did, okay. Bob, would you like to entertain a motion to send the exterior lighting plan and landscaping plan back to the.
Yeah, I
planning
think it
commission?
should go back to the plan commission first.
Okay. Then I will amend my motion.
To do
Include- to
what? Please
change
make it
the-
clear for Melissa.
To change the findings of fact, and then item C be referred back to the plan commission, and that was for the lighting plan, the landscape plan, and the parking plan.
And item D.
And signage.
No, signage is already there, so signage already
Okay,
is.
that's
I'm sorry,
already
okay,
going
you're
back.
right.
So I
Yep,
don't have to
I'm
amend
reading
that portion.
Thank
All I'm
you.
doing is amending item C.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion that item C of the findings of fact would, for exterior lighting plan and landscaping plan will return to the plan commission.
And parking. According to Nick, it was, and parking, I believe.
I think it's exterior lighting, landscaping, and parking. If
Yes.
I don't know what was provided.
Where did we say parking on here? I'm sorry, please
Doesn't say it
clarify.
on here, but I believe it was said
I
at
think it's in the minutes.
at the planning
is-
commission.
Is my recollection.
Yes.
It looks like it didn't make it on.
It was.
Okay, and
Because,
parking.
because the lighting was integral for the parking.
Oh, I see. Alrighty. And parking.
Yeah.
Be good? Alrighty. So we have, yes,
May I speak on behalf of the site plan?
sure.
So this is essentially a copy of what I've presented to the board with the parking, with our landscape areas. They were labeled in what we are gonna have native grasses and some breaker rock in the retention area. We do have existing trees, picnic area. So all of this was on that plan that I had submitted originally. The parking, as you can see, is part of this plan that was already submitted and was already reviewed and pushed for approval. The only thing that I had added to this plan was the lighting, which was the only thing that was missing. So as you can see, that is on this plan here. So everything that I had submitted originally had already gone through approval, other than just the lighting.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's,
So-
I
that's,
don't recall that they approved the landscaping plan, because I was at the meetings, and I know you explained it, the natural grasses and the existing trees and such, but then there was other conversation about landscaping. And unless I'm remembering that wrong, I don't think the landscaping portion of it was approved at planning commission.
Right, so findings of fact was still parking and landscaping, but that was already on that site plan. So I'm confused on what needs to be the change, or if it was overlooked when it was approved.
I think we're kind of confused a little bit too that it was
I think-
sent before it was finished.
I think
but-
from the landscaping side of things, there were mentions at the plan commission meeting about some of the, some landscaping out by the building, as I recall it.
And I believe it was mentioned about in the parking lot that there was an awful lot of asphalt. And I believe the islands, he was looking for something. One of
I
the
believe
members.
that was one of the comments, that there was
looking
a
for
lot of
something.
asphalt and that it should follow the lighting and the landscaping plans of the gateway
Right,
overlay.
Right.
That was brought up, if you may, if
I
you
do
may,
recall that. So I guess my point is that we're spending a lot of time at the board level talking
Now.
about something now that belongs in planning commission.
now it's, yeah. Now I,
right.
yes,
That's why I agreed to amend my motion.
yes.
So,
Now now I'm starting to get that understanding as well. It's clear to me now as well, the more we discuss it. So, if you get, it seems like you got a lot of construction going on anyway, and our next, plan commission meeting is April 9th, so we have it clear that the amended motion and second includes the findings of fact, item C for an exterior lighting plan and landscaping with a revision of those, and parking as it exists under the gateway district has to go back to the plant commission, correct?
Right.
We're all in agreement with that? Okay. So any more discussion? If you have questions, maybe it'd be best to,
I'll talk to you afterwards.
yeah, get clarification after the meeting. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action. Approval of Plan Commission recommendation of a site plan of operation for Gillette Holdings LLC for the property address of 620 State Highway 13, located in the southwest quarter, northeast quarter, section 32, town 20 north, range 06 east, town of Rome, Adams County, Wisconsin, with a parcel number of 030-01-035-0000.
An application was received by Gillette Holdings LLC for a site plan of operation to allow for storage rental buildings on their property. You'll note in the packet that you have that the project plan map has 4 proposed buildings labeled A, B, C, and D. Those are relevant because the recommendation that came from the Plan Commission referenced those both as A and B and then C and D. So the applicant had explained a phased construction of the buildings with C and D being built first and A and B later. At its meeting on March 12, 2024, the Plan Commission considered the application where a public hearing was held, after which a recommendation was made to approve the site plan of operation with one condition. That condition being that approving buildings C and D to be built. If buildings A and B are not built within 2 years, that applicant must come back to the Plan Commission with a revised site plan of operation for that subsequent building and to get that approval.
Do we have a map? We don't have anything.
We got 2 copies of the X'd out things from the planning commission and no map.
Okay. So I will bring you up a map.
Approval of C and D, B and A, D.
These would be in addition to the one building that is already on the property.
That's correct.
So these A and B are not built. C or C and D. And which one's the existing one?
These are the 2 first ones.
And I think,
But there is an existing building.
yeah, I think if you flip that, there's a lot in that packet, but if you flip, I think it's maybe the page before that, might be. And if it's not that, just keep flipping backwards. I think it's in there.
Okay. Oh, here. Building, okay. Just what's the thinking that they come back within the 2 years if it's not built, just so I'm following the whole train of thought here?
First off, a Lifeline has with probably the map that we're looking for.
There are 2 of the maps that you can look at and then pass down.
I've seen them.
You've seen them.
Thank you, Taylor.
Yep.
And then the rationale behind the coming back within 2 years, I think, was there was some conversation about what was the timeline anticipated for the build-out of the other 2 buildings, and as I recall, this fit with that timeline. The concern, I think, that some plan commissioners had and ultimately made it into that condition was the idea that if it went many years and wasn't built, that there may be circumstances that warrant a review of the site plan of operation for those 2 buildings.
Okay.
Is there anybody here from Gillette tonight?
The gentleman back there with,
You-
if he wants to come up to the podium in case there's questions, but
Question. Maybe we
the
can clear this
representative.
up.
So they're gonna build add C and D.
Well, it's the same as mine.
Yeah, it's just bigger and then potentially down the road
At
these
the
2.
Plan Commission meeting, the reason that for the holdback was because the party that was representing you didn't know when the other 2 buildings might be built or what the plan was. Can you enlighten us on what that plan might be?
I don't know, we're the builder, Scott couldn't be here.
Okay.
And Joe couldn't be here, so we're just representing him, but
You're still, okay.
from my understanding, it will be within the next 2 years.
So it's likely that this will have no impact on it.
I would
Okay.
think, yeah.
That's what I anticipated hearing, but thank you.
And there were no people that came to speak about this.
These are their representatives this evening because they weren't available.
No,
I
no,
meant
she meant
citizens, because
about
it said it went to
going in there, but
surrounding
no.
areas, and nobody came to
Nobody
speak on
came
it,
up.
if I recall.
No. I'll move approval, for the, buildings for Gillette Holdings with the findings of fact included.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Capel, a second by Supervisor Minter, to approve the Plan Commission's recommendation of a site plan of operation for Gillette Holdings LLC for the property address at 620 State Highway 13. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, discussion and possible action, consideration of a Rome Town Center pickleball basketball court construction contract with MSA. Rain, would you like to come on up and just present your ideas? As you may recall, we had discussion at the Plan Commission and the Town Board, and the Town Board then decided to work with MSA for a realignment of the master park plan in the Rome Town Center. And Rain had presented two ideas with her company, MSA, one for the pickleball courts and one for the master park plan. And they've presented an idea for the pickleball courts, which had been worked on by our Parks Committee. And then the master park plan will be coming forth in a matter of weeks with some ideas, initial ideas and that they had been working on, and we'll be having some meetings with the community and members going forward. So she's here tonight to first talk about the pickleball courts ideas. So, Rain, if you want to take it away.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, we are working closely with the town to work out the park master plan, and that plan is your guiding document again to kind of lay out where the items that you might build out further within the park. And so we're vetting through the ideas and the various amenities right now to lay those out. I also know with working with Lori and Bill, the need for the pickleball courts is definitely high, and probably one of the next items that you guys are looking to build out as part of your park project. So what you have in front of you tonight is our proposal to assist you in the engineering and design, and then assist with the bidding and then the construction observation portion of that project. So we laid out a scope of services where we would be looking to build off of that park master plan wherever they get located and sited, which we're tentatively have a location on that, to then do the site survey for that area so that we have a basis for the design, and then work through the design itself where we're developing the construction documents that show how the courts need to be built, the fencing, the materials, soundproofing of the courts themselves, looking at all those different items, building them into a bid package, and then releasing that for bidding so that a contractor can bid on the project itself, bring those bids back to you, and then move forward with a contractor to actually get those courts constructed yet this year. I know time is of the essence. I think everybody's always itching to start using their parks sooner than later, so we're trying to move this along as quickly as we can, obviously based on where you guys want to lead the project as well. But that's what our general scope of services lays out. We are looking for ways to obviously value engineer what we're doing as well on our services. We do have several meetings laid out in here to meet with you, kind of go through things, lay out the project, but if they're not needed, we wouldn't charge for those services. It's on an estimated cost shown in the proposal itself. So if there's things that we can do there. And then on the construction side, we also we have an estimate as to the number of trips we would need to come to the site and inspect the contractor and what they're doing, make sure that we're processing their pay applications, reviewing the project for code and meeting plans and specs. But again, if somebody here on town staff is available to do some of that and provide us that information, that saves us a trip sometimes, so there's a cost savings there. So there's some things we can work out yet as we move through the overall proposal, but this is a general process in order to build a general construction project, and you guys have been through that and then bid it and go through construction review. And it is focusing on what is tentatively laid out, 6 pickleball courts and a basketball court. And then trying to also then lay out the access from area streets or parking to make sure it's all ADA compliant that is required as well. So that we just got to provide that and then put those plans together.
So as long as she was here tonight for the other item, it worked out well that you could explain this to us and have something to move forward with, and when you want to do it, how you want to do it, but at least we have the information, because this was something the Parks Committee was actively working on, and we know pickleball players are actively looking for some courts this year. But then the discussion also leads to, you know, the budget, and Jason's been working actively with Melissa and Brad on getting some numbers together and where that budget's gonna end up in, if this is a possibility. So we appreciate you putting this together for us as part of that overall realignment of the master park plan, and we look forward to that other piece coming forward. But if anybody has any questions for Rain,
How long would this be good for? Your
Our
estimate,
proposal,
yeah.
I mean, it's based on our rates for 2024.
Okay.
So
All right,
obviously, if some of the services move into 25, that changes things and,
Sure.
and whatnot.
if we
Yeah.
start later, obviously, but.
Yeah, I think we've got the cart a little bit before the horse here. I thought we were gonna have the revision of the park master plan first, so we could see overall where the pickleball courts would fit in. We also have had some discussion here amongst board members as to whether there'd be 6 pickleball courts or 5 and a tennis court, and there's no provision here for that discussion either.
Well, and I can quickly state, I mean, the number of courts, we can work through that. I don't think that changes a ton on our price. It's just a general site plan and layout. So you know, it could be 4 pickleball and 1 tennis with overlay of 2 pickleball. I mean, we can work through those details itself. The reason the proposal is obviously in front of you now is just because I knew what, from our understanding, was as time was of the essence to start moving forward. If you really want to have pickleball courts, hopefully even available to even be part of use of the summer, you need to start now in order to get it out for bidding and get a contractor on board. So that's why it's in front of you. It still can be worked through on layout based on the park master plan, but I do definitely understand the concern, and you want to make sure that that park plan is done and you have them in the right spot before you move forward.
And I know that we have talked about it at Plan Commission, and I've got the meeting minutes here. We talked about it at Plan Commission and Town Board last November already, and at the Corp meeting, that we knew we didn't want them between the band shell and the splash pad, and we needed to find an alternate spot. So this is just to give us an idea of what we were looking at as far as the price. So she's just presenting the idea. We're not making any decision here tonight. It's just to give us an idea. So, and we also have to talk about money. So, and that's gonna be coming up soon. So we appreciate your efforts in doing that. We know the actual,
Yeah, that's one of my concerns, is I need to know where we're at with that park budget
yeah.
before going forward with anything.
And as far as number of courts, we've talked about the one, we had pictures in that one proposal you gave us when we made the decision to go and work with your company, that one of the courts was convertible, whether it would be 4 or 6. And I know, Bob, you were always talking 6. Some of us talked
Right.
about 4, correct? So, you know, 4, one of them might be converted to a, and now I hear, Glenn Murray from Visit Rome had contacted me, and your group is actually, Visit Rome is talking about an indoor-outdoor rec center, so that might be something that's on the horizon that we were not aware of. So that's also something that might, who knows, so moving forward, but we
Really?
do appreciate,
When did that come up?
yesterday.
I can
Surprise.
clarify
That's
that.
interesting.
I'm, so just so we're accurate, I'm no longer on the board of Visit Rome. I'm the
Oh.
acting interim president leading meetings in the absence of Will
Oh.
Beckstrom, who's currently disabled or due to injury. So this is a really preliminary discussion. I'm surprised Glen Murray would have reached out to you. There is a committee, outdoor recreation committee, as part of Visit Rome. And it was raised the possibility that such a facility might be embraced by the town.
Okay.
And it would be an opportunity for Visit Rome to collaborate with the town, possibly with Sam Valley, because they're all often asked about pickleball courts, that the 3 businesses and the organizations, government, could maybe get together and explore this,
That'd be
to have
excellent.
some sort of indoor pickleball facility because we're all about building activities in the shoulder season and winter. And also as part, and this is all just brainstorming conversations, also having some other possible community rooms in there or other things after exploration with these organizations the community would bring forward that they need. Not just that we think they might need, but that actually is explored, that is something that's needed in the community. So it's often said, Visit Rome has a lot of money, what are you doing with it? And so we're looking at things to do with it that would, I shouldn't say we, because technically I'm not on the board, but they are looking for this as an option of something to do with that money that could benefit the entire community. So
That
that
would
kind
be
of
a
wraps
great
that up. I think
that would be
Glenn
a great
was
collaboration.
maybe a little ahead of that with that conversation, but that's sort of where that is. Because
So-
a lot of people want to play pickleball indoors.
Okay. Yeah, that's
I'm
kinda
not
what the-
saying they
yeah.
wouldn't want the outdoor courts. I think those would be great too, but being as big a sport as it is and the high need we have to improve access to facilities in the winter and the off-season, it might work out, so.
That's helpful to know, and
So-
that's good to know, because then that would help us determine how many courts we actually would wanna put in, and even if we could get away with maybe just 2 to start, if the money's not there, at least we'd get some.
So that committee just learned about this Wednesday. The topic came up. It's brand new, so nothing has been done.
No, but
They
that's
haven't
good to
had
know.
meeting number 1, so.
But that's good, that would help us with our decision as far as, and when you say, like, Lake Arrowhead had put in 6 courts about 2 years ago, and I think the figure that was floating around for 6 courts was about $186,000 total, and that's with that, like, rubberized play surface and the whole thing, the fencing and everything. I
That's
mean,
roughly on
granted,
par.
I'm not gonna hold you to numbers, but is that
That's
even,
roughly on par. Yep.
is it really?
Yeah.
That's good to know then. That helps us with planning. So 186, I won't hold you to that.
200,000, round it out.
Yeah, yeah.
$250,000.
Again, it always
Add in
matters.
the 50,000 for the design.
Yeah,
fee.
add in for the 50. so
$250,000.
$250,000.
$2.
Keep rounding that up, Jackie.
If we keep waiting, it will keep rounding.
Yeah, so, all right. So, but that's good to know though, and we appreciate the work that you did on this, but this is all helpful information that we talk and we collaborate, so. And that's all this was to do, and it wasn't putting the cart, but it's 2 pieces that were part of your original
Yep.
conversation with us. So, and thank you for staying to talk to us again.
I appreciate it.
All right, great, thank you.
Rain, have you got an idea as to when the revision of the park master plan could be completed?
I think,
Or
I
at
guess
least
where
is it-
I might not know where it's at with, have you provided everything back to Emma on
Well,
comments as a stakeholder group? I know that was, I think it was taking. the
Well, we
plan-
were waiting for some things from Brad. I think he talked to her,
I think, okay, he might have that then.
but I
so-
don't know that he sent her any layouts of what she had hoped to get from him.
Okay.
So we were still kind of hoping on that from him, but
Ideally, I mean, we could have something turned around next week.
yeah, that's what we're hoping on.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And then we'll have the
And
bigger public meeting to have comment, and present that and take any of those comments back, and then we can finalize the plan.
yep. According to your original notes, yep, that's what you stated is early April.
Yeah.
So we're on track.
Yeah. So the question would be just when does the town wanna schedule that more public meeting?
We could
to have
talk about that,
review?
yep. That'd be great.
We can get that on the calendar.
All right, thank you very much. So then we'll have to talk some numbers too. We'll have to get that ironed out with the numbers. All right then. Dates and items for future agendas.
I have one item for some future agenda, just where are we with the remodeling of the community room and kitchen?
Bill, I think had that on his, I don't know, we're gonna have to get Brad, we're gonna have to have Brad
That
come
was
up.
your number 2, okay.
All
He
right.
had the same question.
I think it's sitting still right now, waiting for everything.
Okay,
I have one item that I think we need a draft for a band shell agreement with Visit Rome. We can't let that lapse, and we should get it together because they wanna have their first concert there in June. And I don't think there's any issues, we just need to have it formalized.
Okay. All right.
And there were some items for discussion, I believe, when we were starting to talk about it under the contract.
And just so I'm clear, so we can start having those conversations and I can get you something to consider. We're talking about band shell booking.
Correct.
Do we have to up, which makes me think about it, our host compliance agreement? How often is that renewed? Because don't we split the cost share on that?
We do cost share. I don't know how often, I don't know what our contract term is with host compliance.
Maybe we should just,
Yearly, but
I think Jamie used to come to visit Rome annually and present about that, and she would bring statistics as far as how many people have used the service and how many homes or residents have been found on that service, just to continue to know its value. She usually did that in the early summer and around this not too
time?
far off of this time of year. Maybe, well, it's so warm this year, probably it was May, but
yeah.
That was gonna be my question. Thank you.
I,
So maybe
Yeah.
you and Jason and Nick can check into that and.
But
Okay.
beyond that, Nick, I think there needs to be a discussion by, I don't know if it's Public Works or whoever, about the use of the band shell and how the town is gonna administer it. We don't have anything right now, correct? We have a band shell. That's it. There's been
Well,
no-
we have a fee schedule already established. We voted on the.
We've
fee
had Visit Rome schedule concerts at the park as it was, by the gazebo for 2-3 years without a formal agreement. So I don't think that this is much better, different than that.
Well, I thought we were talking about a formal agreement.
Yeah, we did talk about a
I'm
formal
just saying,
agreement. This is a
we
little
don't
bit
need to
different.
I'm not
have it
trying to
done
be a hard
necessarily
guy.
by
I'm
June the
just-
6th or 7th, whenever the first concert
I
is.
have questions about who's gonna carry the insurance for the performers. I mean, you have to get insured for the music that gets played. Or you could be sued.
I think the band shell is already covered in the insurance agreement. I think we had talked about that before.
So I have questions, that's all.
oh,
Okay.
questions that need answers.
I mean, if you're booking, is the person that's booking gonna carry the insurance for the music?
No, the
Because
town-
there's 3
the town
agencies you
carries
have to
insurance.
insure with for music. When you play any kind of music at a band shell. And if you don't have that, you can be sued. And I don't know if Visit Rome is aware of that. But I am, because I did it in Wauwatosa.
So there's some things we'll look
So
into.
that's
and-
what I'm saying is, we can't wait till the last minute to get all this stuff settled out.
Okay.
It's a little more complicated than what it appears on the surface.
Alrighty, and then, I have the one on here to adopt the new fee schedule, and look into realigning those fee schedules for a building inspector. And then April 9th for the Plan Commission, referred that item over for getting clarifications and looking at that language that was changed. And then eventually would we see that on the April 18th town board agenda, or whatever, if that would move forward from Plan Commission. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I have an item.
Yep.
The DNR has given us a grant for the shoreline restoration of Walden Park at 9th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
We have a copy of that grant, and it's issued for $38,233. So anyway, the town needs to approve that prior to April the 12th. So,
I did.
and so that needs to be on the next meeting.
Oh, we have to approve it even further?
Yes.
We have to prove acceptance.
I thought I signed that for you that day.
That was a recommendation for the, I don't know, this is.
It was the,
different. This
I
is
think the town
agreement
approved,
to be-
the town approved filing for the grant. Now we have to formally accept it, is what Bob is saying.
Oh, alrighty,
So we need to do that prior to April the 12th.
alrighty, need that on the agenda.
Anything else?
Huh?
No, nothing else? Wake boat discussion,
Alright,
possible
that's right, I did write
retainer
that.
agreement, and then, I would just like to know where we're at budget-wise, if there's anything currently that we are running over budget. And I don't know if that would be Jason that would report on that?
Usually that report comes in your April packet with the
Okay.
percentages quarterly. That report comes, so the next meeting, that report would be in there, being March is done.
So that gives us the number, the percentage, but
Gives
is
you
it
per-
possible where there are things that are over budget to maybe give some discussion of them?
Sure.
I did see some of that, some of those numbers are already
Some of them make
over
sense.
already.
Some of them are
Some
one-time
makes-
payments, and they pay out once a year, so they're at 100%.
And-
There's some, like the road material, that's at 50%, but he
We're already at-
buys it in lots.
Yeah.
So, you know, there may or may not be an issue, but it's a good thing to.
Just a touch base on
Yeah, I
that.
think that's good.
Yep.
Anybody else? Alrighty then.
Great minds.
Next meeting date and time is,
Thursday, April 4th, 5 p.m.
right, meeting adjourned at 6:45.